Hello and welcome to SO Live. I'm Danny Flexen, delighted to be joined by Ayman Khan. And if you haven't seen, the latest news is in from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and Team Fury have drawn first blood. Unfortunately for Big John Fury, it was his own. But I'm sure we'll get into that as we talk about everything else. Ayman, how are you?
I'm good. A Fury fight week kicks off. John Fury kicks off in style. We've got a hot start to the week, and I'm predicting a lot more fireworks throughout the week. I can't wait for this weekend. We're finally here. Touch a little bit of wood. I don't want to jinx it at all, but it looks like we're going to be getting over to the finish line and seeing that undisputed title fight this weekend. Can't wait.
I tried to touch a little bit of wood, but I got in trouble last time, so we're gonna leave it for now. The thing I most liked about what happened with Big John Fury was that the blood ran in almost parallel lines around either side of his nose and down his beard that he trimmed.
It's like a WWE production.
Yeah, it was a little bit. Yeah, I was wondering where the blade was. But guys, we are SO Live. We are the most interactive show on boxing YouTube. So please do leave your questions and comments. There's a very good chance they'll be read out on the air. If you haven't already, please do give us a thumbs up and a subscribe. And we're going to be talking about all things Tyson Fury, Oleksandr Usyk as we gear up for the first ever heavyweight undisputed title fight in the four-belt era. A bit of a mouthful, so maybe we'll just refer to it as Ring of Fire. It's good enough for the promoters. It's good enough for us. And we'll be talking about that and the undercard and plenty more besides. So do get your questions and comments in. But Ayman, first of all, let's talk about Big John Fury, your friend and mine. We have to say that really because we don't want to make him bleed. What did you make of the way to kick it off? He's since apologised, I believe, on SecondsOut.
Yeah, that's right. Frank and Raheem over there getting all the hot content as the week progresses. So make sure you keep tuned to SecondsOut for all the latest updates for Fury-Usyk. And yeah, it was a bit of a mad scenes, to be fair. And I wondered whether John might temper himself a little bit because of where they are and maybe the ramifications of things. But you've got John Fury said you get what you see on the tin, and we've got that this week. It was a bit of a mad scene. I couldn't quite make head nor tails of what had happened there. It just seemed like John was, had blood pouring from his forehead, and he was excited and kind of shouting as he would do, shouting for for his son, the Fury banner, raising that high as Team Usyk were doing the same thing. But then you look at a couple of other angles, and you can see that a headbutt went in, and that's not the best of ways to look. They're looking to promote a fight. In recent weeks, we've had promotion very different ways, which hasn't been the most savior way of things. I don't quite like the way this is kicked off, but it has brought eyes to the promotion. That was a bit of a critique, wasn't it, for the first time round when Fury-Usyk rolled around? Not the first time round, sorry, the last time round before the cut delayed fights. That where was all the promotion? Where was all the TV ads and such going into it? Well, I can see the TV ads and the banners when I'm driving through London. I can see it on all the billboards and things. And John Fury's added to that as well with the mix. And I guess it brings more eyes with it. But a headbutt to start off with isn't the best ways I'd like to have seen, or isn't the way I'd like to see the fight week continue from that point of view. But excitement, I guess. And I don't want to say long may it continue, but I think we might see more of it this week.
Yeah, we're not quite sure who he headbutted from Team Usyk. Apparently, it's someone called Stannis, which led to an amazing, hilarious joke in the SecondsOut group chat that absolutely no one appreciated apart from the person who made it. But moving on from that, let's go.
I haven't seen it, Danny. Let me look.
Well, maybe you can save me when you won't like it. You hate my jokes, but wait and see. So let's have a look at some of the chat. John Baxter says, it's not clever to big up what Fury did. Grow up. I can only assume that's directed at Ayman. Stuart Powell says it's a 50-50 fight. Well, thanks, Stuart. Really appreciate that, mate. Crazy Legs says, Radio Raheem always in the thick of it. Yeah, I mean, he might have even thrown the headbutt and just, made out like it was someone else just to get the scoop. I wouldn't put it past him. Only kidding, Raheem.
The best was the red carpet. The best was the red carpet between Wardley and Adelaide. Remember that one?
Yeah,
and Raheem
exactly.
Out there well quick.
Shit stirrer in chief, as we like to call him. P. Saw says, John Fury wants to make everything about him. He's an attention-seeking nobody. Well, is he a nobody, though? Because everyone's talking about him now, and he has made everything about him. What better way than to cut yourself wide open? DB Cooper 1, Radio Raheem got an apology out of him. Get Raheem a role at the United Nations. Next Kofi Annan, I tell ya. Always a pleasure to be joined by you, DB Cooper 1. Crazy Legs again. John's lucky he ain't up for assault. Not the best place to get locked up. Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, he got into the country, though, so who knows? He may yet make it back out. Haroon P Fitness. John is an attention seeker. Nat says Joe Fury's a knob because there's no N. Also a bit upset I can't see Ayman's hair today. Yeah, I mean, Ayman, what's going on? Why are you hiding your light under a bushel?
I've just come back from the gym, pouring with sweat, and this is all sweat up above here, so you don't want to see that right now. I did plan to shave my beard as well.
Or anytime.
Yeah, did plan to shave my beard, but we ran out of time, so maybe tune in next week for the beard unveiling or beard removal, I guess, and also the breakdown of the fight too.
That'll put the bums in seats, I'm sure. Ollie P, he's joined Nat's gang by referring to him as Joe Fury as well. Still think he's promoting his other son's YouTube fights. Sparky, let's hope there's no late pullout again. No one likes a late pullout. DB Cooper 1, headbutts are fine. You've got to let them know you're there, like a hyped up Sunday pub league midfielder. Daryl Elliott, why did he headbutt a teenager? Have you met teenagers, Daryl? Self-explanatory. A national acrobat says, I still think Fury will bottle out at the last minute, but if he doesn't, then Usyk will win by stoppage in the last quarter of the fight. Easy. Josh Ladd, at least it's entertaining. Stephen Dyer. To be honest, the wee lad was asking for that headbutt. See, I told you, teenagers. What did he think was going to happen? Lol. Thomas Russo says it was an accidental headbutt. Yeah, were there any referees there? ruled it wasn't called by a punch.
That's a good comment.
Yeah, I like that. Patrick Power, love Big John. Is that short for Paddy Power? Has John got to deal with them at the moment? We need to check this out. No marketing on Seconds Out unless we've got some money from it. Jay is here, says, Guy hardly flinched, lol. Yeah, I mean, that's a bit embarrassing, I suppose, if he cut himself open, but the other guy came out unscathed. Liberty Wing Lakenheath says, only 20 likes. Come, guys. Fury for the trophy. I guess that means win. Yeah, only 20 likes, guy. It shows 12 on mine, actually, so my browser's not updating. But yeah, more likes, please. Thunder Rose not here to bully you into it, so I'll have to do it. Michael Maloney, I doubt either of these guys boxed. And you're still here watching us, Michael Maloney. But yeah.
Actually, I'm training. Well, I'm doing a little bit of training at McCracken's gym, so maybe we can get some sparring, a bit of bobbing and weaving here, getting it on, trying to lose a bit of weight. So, yeah, maybe I'm doing a little bit. Maybe not to the level of you, but doing a little bit.
Invite Michael Maloney to the gym, mate. You know, let's get him down there. Let's see what he's made of. Come on, Michael Maloney. Do you want the smoke, really? Lord Sod says John Fury is the biggest embarrassment. I mean, that's embarrassing itself, being called an embarrassment by Lord Sod. DB Cooper 1, I think it's strategic from Johnny Fury. You're on Johnny name basis, are you? To do the clown promotion instead of Tyson. He wasn't happy with previous fight week PR during Francis Ngannou fight week. Connor Maybe says, what's the odds on John Fury over 2.5 headbutts? We'll have to get the under over. Stuart Powell says Fury to win in round 7. Sergeant Major One Crack Commandos says, nothing wrong with a good top-in. It gets the job done. There you go. Big Chungus, 2 absolute goats on my screen. You want to tell Michael Maloney, Big Chungus, because he seems to want to offer us both out because we've never boxed. John Wick, Big John loves to intimidate the other side, all part of the Fury game. Yeah, I mean, we don't want to spend too long on John Fury's antics, but do you think it will have any sort of impact on Tyson and his kind of mood going into the fight week?
No, not really. I mean, wasn't there a point where, you know, John wasn't really part of the team before or maybe at least pushed to the side a little bit so, you know, Tyson can maybe concentrate on things or whatever it was. And John had basically been absent from other fight weeks and he's here now. He wasn't going to miss the Undisputed fight week, but from all intents and purposes, from what we looked at when Raheem grabbed a quick moment with Tyson, he'd seen the headbutt and not really made too much of it, whether they have a conversation behind closed doors to say, maybe, look, we're in territory where we don't want to make too much of a loud noise. Let's kind of temper it down a little bit. They might look at that going forward. But no, I think John's look, whilst John does bring this kind of side to things, John's very long of the tooth. I remember seeing videos back in the day where when the Klitschko fight came around, they were hot on like the canvas, having a load of padding and wanted to get those sorts of bits taken out. So look, they can concentrate on John being, you know, this extravagant, you know, loud character, but really what he's doing there is to make sure that everything's right for his son's side of going into things. So John's got a big part in this fight week to play outside of being on just the camera.
Yeah, and apparently he was also drafted into the camp a few weeks ago to provide military-style training, according to Tyson in his interview with Dev Sani for Queensbury, the voice of Queensbury boxing, as he likes to be called. He'll hate that. But yeah, Tyson, I don't know how much you can believe. A lot of what he says is tongue-in-cheek. But Big John Fury, military style training. I mean, he has been getting a few stone off, I believe, in the gym. Sorry, that's pounds, lots of pounds for our American cousins out there. But yeah, I don't know how much impact he has on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, I mean, if he can, I think like the comment in the chat said, if he can draw some of the attention away from Tyson, who's then able to just kind of get through fight week in his own space, I think that's probably beneficial, especially with all the kind of speculation about Tyson pulling out and what happened previously with the cut. If that's the only cut we see before Saturday night, I think we'll be happy.
Yeah, completely agree.
Go back to the chat. Let's talk about how great Tyson looks, says Thomas Russo. I mean, he's not my type, but yeah, better than he was for Ngannou. Daryl Elliott, come on then, guys. Who's your winner? Daryl, we're not going to give away our predictions after, 10 minutes, are we? We want you to stay on and watch for a bit. Come on, schoolboy errors here. Liberty Wing Lakenheath says, no, I don't see John's actions affecting Tyson, but it does look bad on the camp, I think. Sergeant Major One Crack Commando says, it's his dad that keeps him in check, to be honest, but he's just a bully and I hate bullies. Pop, pop, bang, bang, just turn up. There you go. Red Black Ticky says, 1, Usyk is 37 years old, very old for someone who bases his style on speed and footwork. 2, Fury is a super heavyweight in size, not just a heavyweight. The size difference will be unfair. John Wick is laughing at National Acrobat, who said, Fury currently looks like an airbed with a slow puncture. It makes me think of, you used to have those documentaries about drastic weight loss and you see all like the loose skin. I think that's kind of what you're referring to. I think Fury looks really good, actually, though. Crazy Legs, can you run a poll to see who people think is going to win? What a great idea, Crazy Legs. Not one we'd already planned, of course, but Vincent, Modfather Vinny, if you can hear me, please do put out a poll. I don't expect you to remember this. I'll send it to you in our group chat in a minute. But Fury versus Usyk, who wins and how, and the 4 main options. I'll sort that out now. But Ayman, while I'm doing that, what have you seen in the build-up, especially since the postponement of the original date? What have you seen from both fighters? And have they been encouraging signs, discouraging signs? Just give us a flavour of that.
Yeah, well, specifically seeing Tyson Fury at the Morecambe press conference, for me, you could see he looked a lot more, thinner. Looked like he'd slimmed down. Looked like for people who were commenting that they thought that the Ngannou fight wasn't one where he took it serious enough. It looks like he's taken it serious with his weight loss and got himself in the shape that he wants to be in. That's very clear with what he looked like. And then since from the subsequent pictures, although some of them, he looked bigger, and I don't know if it's lighting, I don't know if it's the Andy Ruiz trademark lighting, but it looks like from the recent pictures that he's slimmed down loads. Now, just on that point, though, if you rewind yourselves back, or rewind back, sorry, I should say properly, to the first Wilder fight, John was really unhappy with how slim Fury was coming into the fight, how light Fury was coming into that fight. And he said that Tyson's optimum weight was to be a lot heavier so he could take those shots from Wilder, but kind of pointing out that he wanted him at a higher weight. Whether that's the case here and whether they've decided to slim down here so Fury can be a lot more agile for Usyk might seem to be the game plan, looking at what we've seen of the pictures of Fury. But will that come at a cost to Fury, who's been heavier in his recent fights, who's been best at his heaviest? We'll have to see what happens. The proof will be in the pudding on that point. But might it be a little nod as well to, we know what the Sugar Hill MO is to go forward and look for that knockout and set up that finish. But might it be a nod to what got Fury to the dance in the first place, the boxing, being light on his feet, being able to move more in front of someone whose real calling card is the angles, is the movement, is being able to hit you with a cascade of punches at different angles and levels. That's kind of what I think they factored in here. Usyk, I've not seen too much of him. I think he's looked jovial and jolly and kind of having fun in some of the little pictures of the training and videos in the training camp. We'll see more of Usyk, I guess, through the fight week. He's usually kind of covert and kind of kept away when it comes to his training camp. So can't really comment too much on Usyk right now. But Fury looks tremendous shape. We'll just have to find out what the reasoning for the shape is, but we might only find out until fight night.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is that Tyson has got a huge ego, as most professional boxers at the highest level have. And he'll have been stung, even though he says he's not and he was humble, he would have been stung by the criticism after the Ngannou fight. He clearly didn't take it as seriously as he perhaps should have. He'd have been stung even further by seeing what Anthony Joshua did to Ngannou. And he'll have felt that he should have done that, or at least a similar job. So it doesn't surprise me that he's got into the shape of his life. I think part of it is because he respects Usyk as a fighter. I think we're seeing that now. I think he knows he needs to be in top shape to keep Usyk off, to outmaneuver him, not so much to kind of lean on him and pull him around, although I'm sure there will be elements of that. But I also think it's an ego thing. I also think he was embarrassed by the reaction to the Ngannou performance, and he'll want to set that straight. Jay says, Tyson floors Usyk. Nobody in history could beat Tyson. Wow. Sean McSweeney says, Terry Fury is big, eh? I don't know who Terry Fury is, but maybe I need to watch more of the footage. Emu Cat says, Fury's right jab covers more distance quicker than Usyk's feet. Yeah, I mean, if Fury goes southpaw, as some people have spoken about, we've actually got an interview on the channel at the moment with Christian Thun, who's a German heavyweight who's been in Fury's camp before and worked with Sugar Hill. And he said there's 3 distinct Fury styles, and they're all really good, and they could all be effective against Usyk. One of which is the standoff, use your jab move, lateral movement that we've seen earlier in Fury's career. The second is turning southpaw, as he did with great success against Derek Chisora, Martin Rogan, and so on. And the third is, of course, the come forward aggressive style we've seen more under Sugar Hill. And Usyk perhaps struggles with all of those in some aspects. Daryl Elliott says, is Tyson really that much bigger? Different pictures, videos show a difference. Have you guys actually seen them in person? Yes, I think we both have. But yeah, I mean, there is a significant difference in height, certainly, but no more so than some of the people that have challenged Tyson before. And similarly, I think Usyk's probably fought taller people a number of times. You know, Anthony Joshua was a fair amount taller than Usyk, not as much as Tyson. I'm not sure how much. Height itself is not going to make a huge difference. It's more going to be the reach and the use of that advantage as well. And we'll see how well Fury can do that. Stephen Dyer says, Fury went on point, smart boxing from the start. Should just point out, Stephen Dyer's reminded me, the poll is up now. Fury versus Usyk, who wins and how. So please do make your vote count. Sean McSweeney, a lot of blah blahs and blurbs, too many words. I don't know if he's talking about the build-up or our podcast. Stuart Powell, Tyson's legs look like matchsticks. Will they be strong enough? Yeah, I mean, could he be too slim? I remember when he was under Peter Fury earlier in his career, there was a lot of talk about him losing too much weight really early in his career. And he wanted Tyson to be at least around 19 stone because he is a big man naturally. Shane Murray, Usyk's belt will be up to his chest, referring, of course, to the speculated fear/weakness that Usyk has around body shots that we saw in the controversy from the Daniel Dubois fight. DB Cooper won. I think it's a 50-50, but the Boeing community, I think that's supposed to be boxing community, are totally writing off Tyson way too much. Sparky, who must have read DB Cooper's comment, says, you Fury fanboys will be put to shame when Usyk schools Fury. Jay is here, says, let's see if Tyson elbows him in the face like he did in Ngannou. I mean, he'd have to elbow down. It'd have to be one of those chopping elbows. Was it 12-8 elbow or something like that? I'm not a big MMA fan, you probably guessed. Jay says, trust me, Tyson beats Usyk. All Americans saying Tyson beats Usyk. Just Brits jealous of Tyson, that's all. Nat says, only way Usyk doesn't win is if the scorecards are bent. Liberty Wing Lake and Heath, Usyk used the low blow rules his advantage. I think he means advantage. Has he really got issues with blows to the body? I don't think so. But I don't think he can keep Tyson off him no matter how he can move. Yeah, well, that depends. Does he need to keep Tyson off him? Is Fury going to use that front foot style? We don't know. Alex Fever says, we've all got a dose of Alex Fever. Usyk is too good. Think he'll win relatively easily. Patrick Power, Fury's army on tour. DB Cooper 1. Why has AJ turned up to the fight week same time as Usyk on Saturday? Is he a last-minute replacement? I would imagine that's quite unlikely, but you never know. AJ's probably just there as a fan, isn't he, to absorb fight week, do some media while he's there. Maybe they'll announce AJ's next fight during the fight week. We shall see, or on fight night, perhaps. Tech test. From the looks of things, John Fury might end up fighting Usyk while Tyson works the corner. Well, no, John Fury won't be allowed to fight with that cut, will he? That's the thing. He's ruled out now. Patrick Power, Fury has to get a KO. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he'd like to, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I've never seen Usyk properly rocked or buzzed. Have you, Ayman? Oh, Ayman's disconnected. I've just seen it on the thing. Just trying to rejoin. All right, well, I'll answer the question then. I've never seen Usyk particularly rocked or buzzed. Certainly not as a professional, maybe as an amateur. So, yeah, I don't know. And does Tyson Fury hit as hard as his size and frame suggest? That's always been a topic of debate. I asked the aforementioned Christian Thun on the interview I did with him, which is on the channel. And he said Tyson Fury is the last person to buzz him. He hit him with a 1-2, took a step back when Thun was near the ropes and hit him with another 1-2. He said, I think he was joking, but he said, I could see 3 Tyson Furies at that point, which is, one's enough for anyone. So, yeah, I'm not sure how hard Tyson hits or how well Usyk can take a punch up at heavyweight, but I would hope both of those questions will be answered on Saturday night. Jay Tyson says, Jay says Tyson didn't train for Ngannou, so ignore that fight, and it's a mismatch. Tyson destroys Usyk. Whereas Honda RPM's 1983 says easy fight for Usyk. So you got a lot of strong opinions on both sides. Law-abiding citizen, Fury sparring partner, said it's the best I've ever seen him physically and mentally in 5 years of working together. Well, there you go. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Mike Michal, Fury will destroy Little Rabbit Usyk. Usyk isn't really from the heavyweight division. £10,000 on Fury KO at 10th round. Are you saying you've put that on already, Michelle? Or are you offering anyone in the chat and the presenters of it? I mean, I'm not doing it. But either of us, the 10K, are you laying odds for us? Let us know. Come back to us. So, yeah, if you're just joining us, this is SO Live. We're here every Monday, 4 p.m. But we're talking in depth about Tyson Fury, Oleksandr Usyk for the undisputed heavyweight title, the first of its kind in the 4-belt era. And if I'm not mistaken, we've just been rejoined by Mr. Ayman Khan. Ayman, what, doing your hair? And you came off worse. Yes, we were just talking about the fight. Obviously, a guy called Michelle might be offering us a 10K wager on Fury KO in the 10th round. I think he's talking about giving us odds. I will, dude, he says. Michelle, drop your details, mate. Always looking to make some money. DB Cooper 1 says mute. Me, Ayman, who's muted? Anyone muted? No idea. But yeah, I'm going to carry on talking as if I'm not muted. But yeah, guys, do give us your questions and can't hear Mr. Khan. So Ayman, if you can hear me.
Can't hear me.
Right. Are you unmuted now?
I'm unmuted.
That means loads of people missed your great joke.
Here it goes again. Accidentally headbutted the Wi-Fi.
Oh, you accident. And you came off worse.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah, but we're here now.
That's
ready
why
to go.
we were
Ready to fight.
Partly when you couldn't hear Ayman. Shane Murray says, when they meet in the ring, Usyk will realise what he's up against. Fury, too big, too strong. Yeah, Cole Froch, not the biggest Fury fan, is he? But you've used his say in there, so we'll let you have it. We can hear you now, Big Khan, says DB Cooper 1. DB Cooper 1, is it really you? Because your spelling seems to have improved massively since the last couple of weeks. Sean McSweeney, Usyk suffers from piles. Brilliant. Well, it's good to know. Sean's there with a scoop. Radio Raheem will be jealous. But yeah, massive fight. We are going to get on to how we feel the fight will pan out now, because we do need to talk about the undercard as well. Not the best undercard you've ever seen, but given the main event sells itself, it's not too bad. But first, we've got a poll out, so please do tell us Fury versus Usyk, who wins and how. Make your vote. While you're doing that, Ayman, how's the fight going to play out on Saturday night?
Yeah, and I've maintained that I've changed my mind a few times, although I've been kind of set really the last few weeks on Usyk getting the victory. That's liable to change as we move towards fight night. We're hoping to get some form of predictions to you from the SecondsOut team as to which way we'll be going, a final decision to you later on. So do look out for that. But for right now, I'll stick to my guns as to what the last few weeks have been. I believe that Usyk does get the victory over Tyson Fury. I think he does it on points. And I think we're just going to see a vintage Oleksandr Usyk in here in the ring. I think you'll see a lot of the angles again. I think you'll see a lot of the footworks. I think you'll see Tyson Fury really... With Usyk, he's one of the few fighters who really makes good fighters look not as good as they have in previous fights. He really kind of shows that real difference between world class and real elite level. And for Joshua, look, he ran out of tools, ran out of ideas. He was able to get a few shots off, but it's really reserved to real scarce moments in the fights. And you can only really, at least from my memory, remember the moments of Usyk dominating and really kind of hurting Joshua and having Joshua on the ropes. Bellew, For some people, Bellew was winning the fight. I don't think he was. It was Usyk winning the fight for myself, and it was an emphatic ending. Bellew, look, sometimes some people like to make a few jokes about Tony. Good fighter, very good fighter, and no one had ever done that to Tony outside of Adonis Stevenson, who really kind of hurt Bellew in that fight, but he wasn't really, shouldn't have been at that weight for much longer, and he did indeed move up after that fight. So you look at some of those fights recently, Chisora as well too. For much of a lot of people like to talk about how Chisora really kind of had him kind of laboring and looked the best against him.
Not the fight I saw.
If you really focus on Usyk that fight, like you really kind of get to see just how excellent he was in being able to outmaneuver Chisora, who was in that period, like I think now recently we look at Chisora as a bit more lumbering, sorry. But in that period, he had a real good run of form, Chisora, and it was looking like a real problem potentially for Usyk, but he was able to kind of just get Chisora's rhythm and then just play with him essentially. And I think that's what will happen really. This first 5 rounds, I think he'll be cautious because of the physical advantages, and he'll want to know how Tyson will use the physical advantages on him, like has been mentioned before, leaning on him, holding him, trying to make him bear his weight and tire him out. But after that point, I think we see Usyk bring up the gears and see if Fury can hang with him. And I think Fury will be able to hang with him, but the competitive edges and the wins in the rounds will go to Usyk. And I think he wins something around a 2 maybe 3 round clear points victory.
Well, I agree that it's going to be a clear points victory, but going the other way, in my opinion, I can be accused of bias. Obviously, I've covered Fury's career and known him for God knows how long now, well over 10 years, maybe 15 years. But taking all that aside, I'm a big fan of Usyk. I think what he's done in becoming undisputed champion at cruiserweight, following on from a great amateur career as well, and then unified heavyweight champion, 2 wins over Joshua, very impressive. And I'm not in the camp where I feel that he, cheated Daniel Dubois out of victory either. I think, Usyk had that fight in hand. There were a few hairy moments, but he did what he had to do as a champion. If you're offered the opportunity to get a rest when your opponent's got the momentum in their favor, most people are going to take it, regardless of how hurt they are. In my view, I think Usyk will have his moments, especially early on. I think he might surprise Fury with his speed, especially of foot. But I think Fury knows how to fight opponents of that stature. He's always been the biggest guy in the ring, regardless of heavyweight or a former cruiserweight coming up. I think he knows, and he'll learn even more so with Sugar Hill, how to control the distance, because you've got to remember, Sugar Hill is the nephew of Emmanuel Stewart. Emmanuel Stewart was a master at getting his heavyweight fighters specifically to know how to control the distance with an excellent jab and good foot movement. He did it with Vladimir Klitschko famously, Lennox Lewis, even Oscar De La Hoya during their time together. So I think if Sugar Hill's inherited any of that now, and he spent most of his youth as a trainer working alongside his uncle, you would expect Fury to be even more expert in that than he was previously. I don't see it as Fury playing with Usyk or controlling him for the whole fight on the end of his left hand or right hand if he chooses to go southpaw. But I do think he'll be able to keep Usyk off, land enough shots as Usyk over the fight gradually gets a bit more desperate, takes a few more risks to get inside, as he'll have to if he wants to win the fight. And I just see Fury gradually more and more so as the fight goes on, increasingly picking Usyk off, outmaneuvering him. And then when on the rare occasions where Usyk is able to get inside, I can see Fury, not all the fight, but in those occasions, leaning on, wrestling him around, sapping his strength. Very similar, I suppose, if you want a fight as a kind of blueprint for how I feel this will turn out. Vladimir Klitschko against David Haye. I expect Fury to throw more shots and to move more than Klitschko did in that fight. And I expect Usyk to be a lot more resolute, explosive than David Haye was. I never felt that was Haye's best performance, of course. But I think it will follow a similar pattern, except that Usyk will have more moments early in the fight than Haye did. And I back Fury to come out on top, something like 116, 112, 117, 111, something like that. Maybe one controversial scorecard thrown into the mix, as that always seems to be the case. Let's just go to the chat before we move on to the undercard. Jim Reaper says it's casual hour on Seconds Out. Oh, Jim, thought you liked us. Crazy Legs. If you watch AJ's last 3 fights, he seems to have changed back to his old style, more aggression. Will Brazil. Wouldn't surprise me if Tyson was meant to look shit in his last fight. Ooh, subterfuge. Sly L1, I think Fury is just too big for him. It will fight him like the bigger man. Thank you, Sly L1. DB Cooper 1, I feel like John Fury has eroded the Tyson Sugar Hill relationship. Sugar doesn't seem as confident as he used to be or happy. Yeah, I mean, I was surprised when Big John ended up in the camp, to be honest, for this one. Tech test, Fury has the tools to win, but Usyk would have prepared for all eventualities. You have to lean towards Usyk slightly. Okay. DRW says outmaneuvering him, and he's got, 5 laughing emojis. Thanks, DRW. I'm guessing that's not a seal of approval. Gary, Usyk is not knocking out Fury. Wake up. I know AJ fans need Usyk to win, but stop being emotional and chill. DB Cooper 1. By the way, shout out SO/Ayman for covering Conor Benn's suspension. Meanwhile, the biggest boxing platforms all ignored it, even though mainstream media covered it. You're welcome, DB Cooper 1.
Hot tag from Danny Flexen for that one as well.
Well, thanks, mate. Patrick Power says LGBT will go after Big John. I think there's a few more characters missing from that acronym there, Patrick Power. A national acrobat, Usyk has world-class power, and he will show us that power on Saturday. He's been keeping it secret, except for KOing Dubois with a jab. I think Dubois was absolutely exhausted at that point, in fairness, although I feel that comment was at least slightly tongue-in-cheek. Josh Ladd, Bellew was up on all scorecards. I'm not sure that's true. I might need to check that one. Terence Wildridge, you all said Fury would lose to Klitschko. How wrong were you? I didn't, so I wasn't. So there you go. I'm on record saying he beat Klitschko. Mark, this makes me want to... Oh, no, nothing. It's cut off halfway through, cut off in his prime. James Lewis, Usyk will open that cut and win by TKO. Michelle says Fury KO round 10. Andy Campbell, I think Fury stops him, leans on him for 4 rounds, then KOs him in round 5. That sounds similar to the Dillian White fight, if anything. Jim Reaper, Big John just got smacked up by Team Usyk. Crazy Legs, I think Parker would give Usyk a good fight now. Sparky, Cunningham dropped and was beating Fury. Usyk is way better than Cunningham. That was a long time ago. Maybe 2 trainers ago as well. Cunningham did drop him. We're not saying that Fury can't be hit and hurt, but I think Fury's a lot better now at controlling the distance and making sure, he's a bit more defensively responsible against smaller opponents. But we shall see. Tech Test, similar comment. Stuart Powell asks, which fighter has more resilience? Ayman, do you want to field that one first?
I mean, they're both very resilient in their own way. It's quite easy, and I think, to be fair, you probably would lean to Fury, but it's easier to remember those Fury moments of resilience because the moments of resilience come in from getting up off the canvas, which he's done throughout his career. There are moments of resilience outside that, including the cut opening in the Wallen fight as well. Having to fight and adjust off of the back of that cut showed real resilience and heart from Fury. One thing you can't doubt with Fury, if you like him, then you'll love it. If you don't like him, you've got to give it him. He's a effing good fighter. He's a brilliant boxer, but he can fight as well too. And he might be drawn into a fight by. It's like the little bit in the Kambosos fight this past weekend, where Kambosos were being told by his trainer in the Lomachenko fight, look, you're not going to outbox him, so go out there and fight him. The fight wasn't quite in Kambosos for that fight like it was in Lopez, but Fury, if he needs to, can dig down and really kind of go for that moment like he's shown in the 3 Wilder fights. No other fighter has gone in or wanted to test themselves against Wilder outside of when there's been a very shiny coin involved now with recent years, and that's much to his credit. Usyk shows it in different ways as well too. A lot of resilience outside the ring, what was going on politically. I'm not the most political of men, but I think that needs to be said as well too. If you believe the body shot weakness, he's taken and had a lot of fighters target that point in the body, and he showed that he can come through some of the biggest shots that he's taken so far in his career, and doing this at a higher weight as well too, coming up from cruiserweight up to heavyweight and taking. We haven't really seen him take the biggest of shots yet clean, although he's sort of admitted, I think, a while back that one of the AJ shots he took sent him to the moon and back, whatever that means. It's vague whenever it comes to Usyk as to what the true meaning of that is, but maybe you can take from that he was really hurt by that and had to carry on through that point in that fight. But I think because that more high profile moments have come from Fury, you'd probably lean to Fury being resilient, but they're both incredibly resilient fighters.
Yeah, Couldn't agree more. Now, we will move on to the undercard shortly, but just make sure if you haven't already, please do vote in our poll. It's in the chat at the moment. Fury versus Usyk, who wins and how? Have your say. Also, comments in the live chat. Even though we're going to be talking about the undercard, you can still comment on the main event and we will read them out. And give us a thumbs up and a subscribe if you haven't already. But yeah, let's talk about the undercard. So, Mod Father Vinny, if you can hear me, if you can whack the second headline up. I can't even remember what I called it, but I'm sure it's really, really witty. Radio Raheem here. He's got Usyk on the channel, apparently. Usyk furious at John Fury. Rips Tyson Fury's father bad behavior. So, yeah, please don't leave us to go and watch that. I don't think it's actually live yet, but just a little preview there of what's coming up. But, yeah, so the undercard, again, as I said earlier, fights like this, kind of once-in-a-lifetime historic heavyweight fights, you don't expect much of an undercard. You know, you people aren't going to buy the pay-per-view or tickets for the event, even though it's in Saudi anyway, but people aren't going to buy the pay-per-view for a great undercard or for an overall deep show. They're going to buy it to watch Fury against Usyk. And if they get some entertaining stuff in the middle, it just means they probably won't go to the pub and then come back to watch the main event. They might watch more fights. But just to talk about, you've got Jai Opetaia in his rematch with Meris Bridis, which is, you know, a pretty good fight. Bridis probably gave Opetaia a tougher fight than anyone else has. And Opetaia seems to have been crowned by a lot of people as the #1 cruiserweight in the world, despite not being tested particularly, no offense to the people he's fought since then. So that's a pretty good fight. Joe Cordina against Anthony Kakachi. Again, intriguing one. Kakachi's never really got his big break. He's been at a certain level for so long, European kind of standard. Very talented fighter as well, good amateur. That'll be more of a chess match, one for the purist, I would imagine. Ajit Kabayel, who we saw really impressive with his 3 knockdown win on the previous Riyadh season show, goes up against Frank Sanchez, unbeaten Cuban. So that's a very intriguing heavyweight fight. And you'd imagine whoever wins that will go on against an even bigger name in the division on one of these future cards. And then you've got some kind of names against guys they're mostly expected to beat, I would say. Mark Chamberlain, Sergei Kovalev, Isaac Lowe, who's obviously Fury's cousin. Moses Italma, tipped by many to be the heir to the likes of Fury, Joshua and Usyk. Daniel Lapin, part of the Usyk team. And David Naika. So, Ayman, what stands out for you on that undercard?
Yeah, just quickly, I think this undercard is better than some of the big heavyweight fights we had recently, especially involving Tyson Fury. I remember the Wilder Fury first fight. That was a poor undercard. It was like, I think it was the chief support to that one was Luis Ortiz versus Travis Kaufman.
Wow.
And I just remember being like, this is rubbish. Some of the recent ones have had like some decent fights in there. Sabion Matias versus Petros Ananyan. I think that was on the second one. And the other one might have had, let me try and remember. Can't remember what the fight was.
Dig deep.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's gone out of my head. But yeah, better undercard, I think, on the whole than some of the other fights we've seen recently. I think, look, you can't go away from Bridis and Opetaia being the one that you're really looking forward to from a boxing perspective or a fan perspective, because the first fight was just blood, guts, and thunder, especially with the way that Opetaia had to come through and show real. We'll talk about resilience and heart previously with Fury and Usyk. He showed resilience and heart to capture that world title against Bridis, who is for a lot of people outside of once Usyk left the division, the consensus #1 division. Bridis, really kind of went for it, and Opetaia had to hang on through that fight. And I think it'll be much of the same, really. Opetaia's kind of been a bit more active, hasn't he, in recent fights, although they've not been competitive fights at all. Fights that I've not been the most happiest when it comes to the matchmaking in that, but at least he's been active to, have those fights and have that bit of competition where Bridis hasn't. I don't think you can see the draw as being much of a weakness, because I've had a couple of conversations with people within the industry who know a couple of things about these sort of injuries, and say the jaw is one of those where it actually gets stronger once it's injured and you recover from that injury. So I don't think Jai will, be thinking or having that in the back of the mind as whether the jaw holds up, but it will be naturally something of a target for Bridis if he wants to regain that world title. Caballero and Frank Sanchez, that's a good one in a way because it's two sort of unfancied fighters, two that people on the way up or established heavyweights don't really want to fight either of them because there's not the risk reward factor isn't doesn't weigh in their favor for that fight. So if one can get rid of the other and it not be a draw or whatever, then at least you've got someone who fashions themselves a position where they can no longer be avoided to some degree. And the Caballero looked brilliant, didn't he, against Makhmudov, who was much fancied but now been proven to be a lot more raw than we first thought, and much less of a problem. Frank Sanchez being active as well too. So yeah, decent enough fight there. Kovalev coming towards the end of his career and up to the higher weight as well, looking to maybe try and go for one last title tilt. Don't know too much about his opponent, but Kovalev, the Kovalev role that you think of, always bringing the heat, always wanting to get into a fight and look for the finish. If we can see a little bit that would be nice to watch. Moses Atalma, much touted about as being one of the next best heavyweight to come through the division. He's not really had that real true test yet, really. I don't think Mezentsev will bring that either. He's got vying for international trinket, which I'm hoping doesn't mean that he's going to circumvent going like the English, Commonwealth and British route. I'd like to see him go that way. But if they're talking about fast tracking Moses Atalma all the way to the titles very soon, where they could vacate very soon as well, or split up to some degree very soon, then we might look to avoid that route completely. I think we'll see another stellar performance from him. Isaac Lowe seems to get opportunities, doesn't he, whenever these fights come about, especially with Fury headlining on the card. Not much to say about that one. And then Joe Cordina versus Kakachi. I remember spoke to Archie Sharp this weekend, who was in real tough, got dropped as well too, and another night might have counted himself. Well, the referee might have counted him out actually and not let him continue. And you rewind back to 2019, and Archie Sharp looked top of the pops when it come to that British domestic kind of mix between the fighters in division. You had him, the likes of Alpha Barrett, Sam Bone, Anthony Kakachi, and others in there, real kind of vying for the best in Britain. And Sharp should have pushed on. He didn't, had his issues. And Kakachi is really kind of, and he's one as well too, who'd kind of, for all his talents, had been one who'd maybe not trained as hard or taken his opportunities, but he's had fights fall through and been unfortunate, but he's now pushed on he won that British title, I think, against Sam Bone 2019, now find himself in a world title fight where it's kind of do or die for him. I think Cordina slowed down a little bit in recent years as well too. Might count himself as well, lucky as well in recent fights to have got the victory. But there's some fancying Kakachi for the win here. So that might be one of the fights to really look out for on that undercard. Cordina probably in tough against Kakachi. But I think there's a lot to like outside of just looking forward to the Usyk Fury-Usyk main event.
Great stuff. Let's just see what the chat make of it all. Right. National Akbar, Usyk sacrificed the first few rounds with Bellew in order to set traps in the later rounds. 100% agree with that. I felt in that fight, Usyk was always in control of the pace and the style of the fight. He knew he was dropping rounds, but he didn't think that would ever cause him to lose the fight overall. Andy Campbell says, what's harder, guys, and what carries more power, punching up or down? They say punching down's harder, don't they? But I'm not sure that's true. It certainly seems to take more strength punching up. Mark, he uppercuts Fury out of the ring. MB, don't agree with that. A pay-per-view should be stacked with top fights, especially on this stage. It's not whether it needs to. That's kind of more of a purist thing, isn't it? It's whether it's going to sell any less. So if Fury-Usyk, if they have to spend, say, I don't know, 100 grand on the undercard, I'm sure it's more than that, or they could spend $1 million on the undercard, and the difference in buyers is minimal, why would they? Most people are going to buy it for the main event. You might be someone who says, well, if the undercard's not stacked, I'm not paying for it. And that's fair enough. As a viewer, that's completely your discretion. But for the majority of people, I think the undisputed title fight, the first in the 4-belt era, will be enough, regardless of the undercard. Stephen Dyer says, Kakachi fight is going to be the most entertaining fight. Defo, an underrated undercard. Crazy Legs, the last event in Saudi, had a great undercard. Nat plans to watch the entire undercard in full with no distractions. Hope that works out for you, Nat. Sean Shepherd says, pretty sure Fury gets the stoppage, just a little nervous to whether his legs are still there. I've seen them. They're there. If he can't knock Usyk out and it goes the distance, or if Usyk gets on his back, Fury will need his legs. He will need his legs regardless. Stephen Dyer, come on, Anto. The boy has been held back, lives in the same area as Anto, and even as an amateur, he was very impressive. I don't think he's been held back. I think he's had a lot of injury problems, some promotional issues. So it's not that he's been held back. You know, he's had some bad luck, I think is probably more accurate. DB Cooper one says an excellent undercard. Josh Ladd confirms that Belly was up on 2 scorecards against Usyk and even on the 3rd. Sean McComb the other week also got robbed, hoping this doesn't happen to Anto. I'm not sure he'll get robbed. I mean, I think in the other case, it was going up against the home favourite on their promoter's show, whereas this is kind of 2 non-Queensbury, non-Riyadh season fighters going up against each other, isn't it? So I would hope there wouldn't be any politics involved. Gary says, Usyk is a rhythm, I think he means rhythm boxer or puncher, and relies on patterns. Fury, the unpredictable switch hitter, will have Usyk guessing until maybe Usyk works him out late on, too late. Crazy Legs. Fury said he's giving all the belts to Turki Al-Sheikh. Do you think that will have an effect on the judges' decisions? I imagine Usyk would be happy to give him to Turkey as well. Do you know what I mean? The amount he's paying both of them. Michelle says Kovalev is still fighting. He was drinking too much vodka between fights. We don't know if that's true. I think he's kind of admitted it is. But I don't know if it's still the case. He might have sorted himself out. He's up at cruiserweight now, isn't he? So it'd be interesting to see what he looks like in that fight. All right, so we've done all the Fury-Usyk card now. Please still vote if you haven't already in the poll. Fury versus Usyk, who wins and how? But it's just appropriate as we go into, 10 minutes till 5 to talk about some of the stuff that happened over the weekend. So Modfather Vinny, if you don't mind putting up headline number 3. Probably the biggest story, I suppose, to come out of the weekend, with all due respect to Nina Hughes being announced as the winner against Jernica Johnson, and then finding out she was actually a loser on the scorecards. I think the biggest story was probably the resurgent performance from Vasyl Lomachenko out in Australia, absolutely dishing a beatdown on poor George Kambosos, who you think would have had enough of those against Devin Haney. Still fair play to Loma. A lot of people writing him off, saying he's too old. And I don't necessarily want to see him go up against some of the better fighters around that weight class, or even in a higher weight class. But against Kambosos, he proved completely superior in all aspects of the game, and did so on away turf. Ayman, how impressed were you with Lomachenko?
Yeah, very impressed. I've not really been writing his obituary as much as some have within the industry. Not too, I guess maybe that's a bit too far, but maybe kind of seeing the full kind of decline from Lomachenko. He's definitely not as agile, moves as much as he used to, that's for sure. But I still think he's really competitive and beats a lot of fighters, especially if you look at just how close the fight with Devin Haney was. And maybe that's a fight that they can, well, I don't know, actually, with Haney moving up and probably moving up again, but that's probably not going to happen. But I still think he's very competitive in the division right now. Firstly, just with Kambosos, look, I think he's done really well to maximize his earnings off of the back of the Teofimo Lopez fight, which, it was a brilliant night that was. He gave us one of the moments of the decade that will very much be remembered as the years go by. But I think he probably benefited with, I think he played, the mind games to a T. He benefited by the delay. It was supposed to be on Triller, and Matchroom came in, I think it was, and promoted it. And Teofimo Lopez was kind of mentally not all there at that time, I guess, not fully focused on the fight, and that was to Kambosos' gain. But then after the fact, he's been able to maximize, with fights over Haney twice, over in Australia, stadium shows, Australia, I believe as well too, that every boxing event, it's mandatory pay-per-view. So those earnings come to as well. He said he always wanted to fight Lomachenko, and he's had the opportunity to test himself against the very best for the last few years, really. Slipped a little bit for sure, but still a capable fighter. And I think he fell into a trap of, I think ego came in and he wanted to, he's a competent boxer, good boxer, had the rubber green against some fights and had the rubber green against Selby, didn't he, over here in the UK, but not as good as a boxer as Lomachenko, but he tried to box with him and it was never going to be the way to victory for him. And then, like I mentioned earlier, his his corner told him, forget the boxing, fight him. The fight wasn't there like it was for Teofimo Lopez, and that's kind of the thing for Kambosos. He's got to decide now whether he's happy with the money he's made or maybe wants to go for one more fight. He sort of picked he didn't pick a fight. He's been bought into a fight, hasn't he, over social media with Ryan Garcia. Maybe that's something that, whether that be in the ring or outside the ring, he's going to settle the score with Ryan. But whether Kambosos continues is a question. He can hang his hat happy after making some brilliant moments, which seldom fighters get to make in their career. Going back to Lomachenko, yeah, resurgent. I think he wants to go and look to build back at his age and some of the fights that he's had as well too. Shows real kind of heart and the direction he wants to go with looking to pick up the belts. So it's Shakur Stevenson and Gervonta Davis next. Really, he can't really afford to, have any fights that don't have world titles on the line. You can't really afford to not go to anything other than unifications. Some of the fighters, like you mentioned there, on the way up, just look, that youth side of things, like William Zepeda, who's 100 miles an hour, dispatching of one of our Brit favourites in the form of Maxi Hughes. You would kind of worry for Lomachenko a little bit, even with his capabilities. And the likes of Andy Cruz, who looks like Lomachenko coming up, So it is a bit of a. You can clearly see the exit door for Lomachenko, rearing ever closer. But I still think he's competitive in that fight with Shakur Stevenson and Gervonta Tank Davis. I think he probably has the better shot against Shakur. Whether Shakur's interested in that fight is another thing. Gervonta probably is more interested in the fight. But it's whether he can make him and get him, and whether there needs to be some intervention from Saudi Arabia for those fights to happen.
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying before, I kind of fear for Lomachenko when he gets up to the elite level, especially at the weight that he's currently operating at. I think most people would suggest that he shouldn't be, not that he shouldn't be at that weight, because you've got to go where the money is and where the major fights are, but that perhaps his body's not suited for, the disadvantages he'll have against some of those guys. But yeah, I mean, full credit to him. He's got nothing to prove, given what he's already achieved, both as a pro and as an amateur. And he's still there, presumably, because he loves the sport. And still performing at a very high level as well. So yeah, we shall see what the next move is for Loma. And our last topic before we round off, so that's headline number 4 from the Modfather. We saw earlier last week, in fact, that the what do they call it? It's not. Is it a gloves are off? No, because on a Matchroom show. I'm not sure what they called it, but on Matchroom's YouTube, the latest sit-down debate between old foes, Josh Taylor and Jack Catterall, ahead of their rematch in a couple of weeks' time. Ayman, have you had a chance to watch it? And if so, what did you make of it?
I haven't watched it. I did see the little clip of Sam Jones getting the news that the fight was delayed, and they're all kind of sitting around the table as they're about to eat, and kind of being gutted that the fight is been delayed for that period of time, but not quite gotten to see. Look, those two, of course, are kind of the best of enemies. They kind of bring out Josh really brings out the lack of personality we've seen on camera. I'm not saying that Catterall has a lack of personality. I don't think he's the most natural on the camera, but he brings out a side to Jack, which has been really missing in his career. And I think for a lot of fighters, sometimes for all the talent they have, they kind of neglect the camera side of things. And Josh is able to draw that out of him because he's always been outspoken. He's kind of little broed Jack and made fun of his intelligence and things. And Jack has had to fire back. And, he's done things that we've never really seen from Jack, although I kind of consider Jack to be one of the most level, ice-cold fighters the UK has right now. He's been able to bring kind of a bit of more of a fire out of him, which I quite like to see from Jack. Look, great rivals, great enemies. It's a real kind of, specifically for Josh, it's a real career on the line moment here because off the back of the injury that he had to the foot plantar fasciitis, that's something that can recur throughout camp. He's now had not an injury. He maintains it's not an injury, but he's had to sort an eye problem regarding the pressure to his eyes. Wear and tear in his career after becoming undisputed. Should have really taken off, but it seems like the body is kind of letting him down right now, and might be this his last real big fight here if he loses to Jack. I think we're likely to see the same what happened in the first fight. I don't see how Josh can change things around, especially as he hasn't really impressed off the back of his last fight. Well, I mean, Teofimo Lopez is a special talent, but Josh, really didn't offer all that much and really looked befuddled in that fight. And I think this is really Jack's to lose here. Neutral territory in Leeds. It's going to be rocking. Really looking forward to it. I can't wait.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an excellent fight. And I'm not sure how much Josh can improve coming off those bad performances, but I think similarly to when we talked earlier about Tyson Fury being stung by the criticism around the Francis Ngannou fight, I think not only will Josh Taylor be disgusted with himself based on not just the Catterall fight, but the Teofimo Lopez fight. I think that will get the fire burning in his belly. He's obviously changed gyms as well. But I think also he genuinely dislikes Jack Catterall. And I think probably more so now after all the back and forth since the first fight and the animosity that's grown when they didn't go into an immediate rematch. And I think now he's got the bit between his teeth. I suppose it just depends on whether he's still got the physical skills and attributes that took him to the top in the first place, saw him win the World Boxing Super Series and become undisputed super lightweight champion. I mean, he's changed gyms since those achievements. He changed during as well, obviously from Shane McGuigan to Ben Davison, and now up in Liverpool with Joe McNally. So we'll see how that all works out for him. I found it quite entertaining. It seemed like kind of two kids in the school playground, if you like, kind of seeing who could get a rise out of the other. Oh, yeah, I don't bother you, do I? Well, yeah, I don't bother you, do I? Oh, I'll get you going, really, don't I? Yeah, well, I'll wind you right up. So it was all of that. And I quite enjoyed it on quite a base level, but I hope it delivers in the ring. The first fight was pretty interesting to watch. I didn't think it was action-packed, but I think Catterall did a really good job of kind of slowing the pace down, drawing Josh on, countering well. And they may think that's all they need to do again, just repeat and rinse and repeat. But from Taylor's point of view, he will be the one where the pressure's on him to make the adjustments. And with a new trainer, we're not saying he's superior or inferior to the guys that have come before. He will come with a new game plan, specifically for Jack Catterall compared to the one in the first fight. So something will change. The dynamic will change. But whether that's enough for Taylor, I'm not sure. Let's just go to the chat. But while we're doing that, Modfather Vinny, if you could close the poll and put the results up, that would be amazing. Josh Ladd says, I do want to see Loma against the two guys. I thought he beat Haney. Where else? MB, Taylor's going to do a number on him. Taylor will be expecting the holding and spoiling this time. DB Cooper 1, anyone think Taylor pulls a Ryan Garcia and misses weight on purpose just to win at all costs? Apparently, Taylor insisted on it being at 140, and there was an offer of it being at a catch weight in the first place. So I'm not sure how reliable that information is. Crazy Legs, bit of a off topic, says, do you think we'll see Terence Crawford versus Canelo in 2025? We'll address that in a second, but let's just give you the results of the poll. Obviously, our main topic in this week's episode was Fury against Usyk, Ring of Fire, first undisputed heavyweight title fight in the four-belt era. And we asked who wins and how. And we got a whopping response, to be fair. And Ayman will be pleased with this. Usyk points, which is Ayman's prediction, also comes out at 34% and on top. Fury knockout, 28%. Fury points, 21%. And Usyk knockout or stoppage, right at the bottom, 15%. Ayman, pretty gratified by that?
No, I mean, there's only really 6% in it. And it's good to see a lot of people voting in the poll and good to see a lot of people in the chat as well, too, for this week's edition of Seconds Out. Make sure you're in next week as well. Look, it's a close run fight. I think probably the poll reflects Fury's recent performances more so than anything. And I think if we'd scratched off the Ngannou, that's what's really interesting. If the Ngannou fight is out of our memory, completely gone, I think that poll is completely different. And you're probably seeing a Fury win or Fury KO being at the top of the tree, as opposed to Usyk on points. Not to disparage Usyk's brilliance. I'm not, because I'm picking him, but I really think a lot of that is because of the apparent decline in Fury off the back of the Ngannou fight.
All right. Well, before we sign off, let's just take that Crazy Legs random question. Maybe we should start doing this every week, like one random question at the end. Do you think we will see Terence Crawford against Canelo in 2025? I don't. But Ayman, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we do.
Oh
I
wow.
think we do. I think that's this is all, first of all, it all kind of depends on Canelo Alvarez. From his point of view, he doesn't want to take on someone like Crawford, and he said that because he feels that he won't get the credit because of Crawford having to come up the divisions. But if Crawford shows that the divisions aren't too much of an issue off the back of the Madrimov fight, who's a really good boxer, and Crawford, of course, coming up to 154, if you can beat him and step up again, you know, the more I say it, the more I get Canelo's argument. But because Canelo is also on the slide as well too, it sort of maybe balances out a little bit, and maybe, but Canelo won't see it that way. It's us seeing it that way, I guess. I think it all comes down to money, really. I think this is the back end of Canelo's career. It doesn't really need to, outside of maybe trying to go for a belt at a higher division, maybe looking to revenge the Bivol loss, or when the belts scatter from the Undisputed, maybe picking up a light heavyweight belt against a lesser opponent than the winner. Maybe that's in the offering for him. The 200 mil on the table, well, not on the table, but that he wants for Benavidez, or whatever is there for Crawford. Whatever the money is, I think he'll choose. And I think it's down to Turkey Al-Sheikh and what he wants, really. He'll put that offer, whether it be Benavidez or Crawford, in front of him, and Canelo will take it, I think. And I think that's most likely to be Crawford. I think, I don't know, but I imagine that will be, as a boxing fan as he is, I think he knows about people wanting to see that fight to some degree, and naturally knowing that these are two of the pound for pound greats, he wants to match those two up, and Benavidez isn't quite in that picture.
Oh, guys, look who's rocked up. Only an hour late. Thunder Road. God, you used to be such a big supporter of us. I thought Seconds Out Live was at 5 p.m. UK, 12 p.m. New York. We've been at 4 p.m. for what, 2 months now? Come on,
Something
Thunder
like that,
Road. Living in the past, mate. I hope we've got enough thumbs up, because if we haven't, it's your fault. And DB Cooper one's just realised Thunder Road's American and wants him out of here. Love the chat. Love the chat. Really appreciate you all tuning in. Please do give us a thumbs up and a subscribe if you haven't already. If you're watching this on playback rather than live, please do leave some comments. We do read them after the show goes off the air. But it's really great to have so many of you tuning in. And as is customary, the final words go to my colleague, Ayman Khan.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of kind of like tribalism support and things. Like, just put that to the side for the moment, and it's a great occasion that we're going to be getting Fury versus Usyk, the undisputed heavyweight title fight. Again, I don't want to jinx it, but I can't wait to forget about like being right come Sunday or Monday, whatever it is, and Monday when we come back here and chop it all up. I'm not too bothered about being right. I just want to see the fight materialize, and hopefully both men are at their best for the fight, and we get a deserved winner. We don't get any controversy. We get a deserved winner, and we can all discuss it like boxing fans on Monday here on Seconds Out Live. So if you haven't already, great to see all you guys in here. Make sure you're in here next week. Get your comments in, get your likes in, get your chats in, get it all ready. We'll be keeping you abreast of all the action this weekend. We've got Frank and Raheem already on top of John Fury being active and kicking off the fight week in style, kicking off over in Saudi. We're expecting to see more of that. Lots of events going on this week. So we'll be supporting as well from back here. So make sure you check out all the interviews as well too that we have on Fury versus Usyk. But thank you for joining. Thank you for listening to Seconds Out. Thanks to Vinny as well too, and Danny. We'll see you guys on the next one.